We're live. We are live in the building. Boom, boom, boom. Tuesday, 2:30 with me, Kay, for the next hour. This is Adapt the Canvas. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are we doing? What's going on? What news have we got to share? Dar, Vowels, how you going? Yes, String Theorist, how you going? We have a dynamic, Gary. What's going on, bro? We have a dynamic show today. Sun is still shining. It is. I just got back in. Boom, boom, boom. That's right. Yes, mate. Let's go, man. Let's take the vibes to the next level today. I am fired up. I'm amped up. I'm ready to go. I've got a great show. I'm buzzing. I've had an amazing morning. And this afternoon's just going to get better. Boom. How is that for intention? Intentional environment manipulation. I just made that up. Intentional environment manipulation. Boom. I do feel happy, Gary. I'm in a good mood, man. I've had a good day. I've had a good couple of weeks, furthermore, and everything's getting better. Matthew, how you doing? Claire, how you doing? Let's go, people. I do my Tim Westwood impression. Let's go, people. Let's take it to the next level. You guys ready for today's show? We have got a banger. We have got a banger. I've just been to a venue this morning and we had a good conversation about doing some of these live in a venue for next year. That's why I'm excited. Adapt the Canvas can be a live event once a month. We could all be together in a room for an afternoon doing some Adapt the Canvas work. So I'm excited by the whole process. It's a great venue, you all know it, and they're really happy to have us in there. So bit of luck next year if these industrialists keep trying to scare us with their meaningless propaganda. We'll all be together sharing and building this next level. So that's why I'm excited. I'm really, really positive about making it happen. So today, Adapt the Canvas. Let's have it. Come on, people. Let's take it to the next level. Let's raise our vibrations so we can get to wherever we want to get to. You know what I mean? I just had a conversation and I'm excited about the possibility. So the possibility has got me fired up today and amped up today. So think about your possibility. What's going to get you fired up and amped up? And remember, you can create a different type of environment when your energy is uplifted. So remember that, you go into a situation enthusiastic, fired up. I'm saying your energy is when it's going to take it through. So today, let's take it to that next level. Ain't watched TV for 5 years. That's good. We don't need it. Propaganda. That's what's called television, trying to tell you your vision. You don't need it. So this is what we're doing. We're creating our own visions. We're creating our own reality. We're creating something for the betterment of ourselves, our family. Let's take it to the next level, people. What are you saying? Let's go, let's go. So let's let the room fill up a bit more. So today's show is why failure interrupts with the experimentation process. It's experimentation that creates success, in my opinion, right? And so I'm going to present my case. I'm going to present my case to you why I think experimentation is important, right? Is important because lots of people. So what's failure, first of all? Why do people fail? What is it with failure that stops people in their tracks? Well, because failure is a visceral experience. First of all, it attacks the nervous system. It attacks the psychology, right? It makes people feel less than something, right? So they think they're their behaviors. When you fail, you are not the failure. The thing you did didn't work. So there's a disconnect. Some people say, I failed. Well, you didn't fail. Well, you didn't work, right? Something happened while you were there, right? Something happened while you were there. Something didn't work. You just happened to be there when it didn't work. So somehow now you've connected the two. This didn't work. I'm in the same place. Therefore, I am the problem, right? Well, you just need to readjust the way you're thinking about the thing, right? So What were you doing that you failed at? Obviously something you didn't know what you were doing, you weren't confident, you didn't have enough experience. So therefore, we could say that was an experiment, right? You tried to do something, you applied the knowledge that you had to get it going. It didn't go you where you wanted it to go, but for some reason you said, oh, it's not going to work, I'm a failure, now I'm going to stop doing it. When in reality, you're in the experimentation phase. Think about it. You're in the mode of experimentation, right? Now, work with me, guys, work with me, right? You're in the mode of experimentation. There isn't a right or wrong way. At that moment, you're trying to figure it out. Yes, G, right? At that moment, you're trying to figure it out. You don't know the right way to do it, so you're just trying to figure it out. And in somewhere in your mind, right, there's a bit of playfulness, right? Yes, Mike. There's a bit of playfulness. You're just sort of in a joy mode. You're not really like trying to be certain of either way that's going to happen. But, right, what makes you stop experimenting, right? It doesn't go the way you want. Some people carry on. Edison did 10,000 attempts, right? Edison did 10,000 attempts. If you're a producer out there or a DJ or a skilled professional, what was it that kept you going when it was difficult, right? There must have been a time when you thought, I'm not going to get it, all right? But you didn't think I'm going to give up, right? It's difficult, it's challenging. I'm up all night, I'm struggling, I'm in the grind, but you didn't give up, right? So this is the phase that I'm talking about. So there's two different types of people, right? Put 10 fingers up. There's two different types of people. One person who loves that challenge, and they're going to dive in deeper and say, right, this is really great. I don't know what I'm doing, but this feels great, right? And then there's the other person who dives into the challenge and says, oh, I don't feel confident. I don't know what I'm doing. This doesn't feel great. And I'm going to stop, right? What's the difference between those two people? Well, the person who always stops doesn't get enough information to carry on. They're not imagining themselves figuring out a solution. Whereas the other person, they're just in the flow, right? They're not questioning it. They're not thinking of the outcome per se. Their motivation is joy. Their motivation is curiosity. What will happen if I do X? Well, let me take this apart over there and put it with that one. Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that. Well, let me do that over there and put that over there. So there's this openness and curiosity and wonder to just mix and match. Think about a painter. Think about all the painters. So I've been reading a book. I'll try and dig it out in a minute. But in the book, it talks about one of the great painters, Toretto or something like that. So if I'm saying his name wrong, I'll put the proper pronunciation and the book in the comments afterwards. But Toretto was a famous painter back in the day, in the Renaissance period, and he was experimenting how to get the skin texture of humans to be really lifelike. And he experimented with loads and loads of different colours, loads of different shades. And Picasso, I mean, I guess all painters are like this, but Picasso's famous for this as well. Shades of blue, right? This type of blue, that type of blue, what type of blue? So Toretto, he created this form of painting where he used egg yolk to get the skin colour to be as lifelike as possible. Who would have thought of that? You're a painter, you use paint. Where did the egg yolk come from? All right? So look how the mind was working. He looked at all of the tools and the things he had available to him, but he didn't limit it to just, oh, Tim Toretto? Right, got you. Tin Toretto, got you. Yeah, so check out that painter, look at his creative process. And another guy who's obviously a genius when it comes to creative thinking, and that's I'll remember his name in a minute. I just completely gone out of my mind. But he was the original polymath from the Renaissance. He painted the Sistine Chapel. So help me out, guys. So he when they found his notes, he had pictures of helicopters. He had pictures of advanced mechanics. Not Salvador Dali, but before him. And so he had paintings and he was an engineer, a painter, an architect. You know, he went deep into the whole creative mindset of problem solving, right? How am I going to think about Da Vinci? There you go. Thank you, Alex. Da Vinci, right? Look at the Da Vinci papers, the Da Vinci notes. Go online. He's got books filled with filled with ideas and things that he didn't, never even came to finish, right? But it's just ideas, right? So think about what are you doing? So it's one of my questions, right? What are you doing to stimulate your own ideas about creativity, about experimentation, right? So think about experimentation. What does that mean when I say that to you? Experimentation, right? Like, how far are you willing to go into in a process of experimentation, right? And you've probably been through these loads of periods in your life, but they've been so natural and organic, you haven't really parked them and said, right, I'm going to go into a period of experimentation. It just happens. We just grow into it. So think about how you got to the point of what the career that you're doing. Like, how did you get there? Think about the style that you dress. Like, how did you get there? Think about your haircut. How did you get there? So there'll be processes. There's an idea, there's an imagination, there's a thought, then there's trial and error, and then there's fine tuning, and then there's like, you've perfected your idea, your dream theses about who you are, what you're going to do, and what you're going to become. It becomes solidified, then you practice it, and then you become it, right? And so think about this process, how dynamic and how fluid it is. Where else can you apply that? So when you think about your type of experiments, what could they be? What areas could you experiment in your life, right? Think about that. If you're not where you want to be in your career, in your life, wherever it is, can you run a little experiment? And so what would the experiment be, right? If you could run it. What's the hypothesis of the experiment? What's the assumption of the experiment? To go from one area of your life to another, to finish a piece of work, right? And so here's where this is all coming from for me. In my line of work, right, you have to, and so music production, small businesses, in my line of work, you have to be out there in the way of thinking, right? You don't get any points for coming in second, right? You guys know what I mean. In the creative industries, coming in second means you just copied the leader, right? And you probably just made it sound a little different, look a little different, taste a little different, feel a little different. But it's not a true innovation. It's not a true mashup of ideas, of cultures, of systems to create something better. And to me, that's what experimentation's about. How do you develop something so that it totally inspires people? It totally takes people to a, oh, wow, what is that type of experience, right? Because when we have that type of experience ourselves, our imaginations light up. It's like Christmas being 10 years old when you really want that present and then you get it. But your mind blows because it was way more better than you expected. Like, where has all those experiences gone for us as adults? What really blows your mind as an adult nowadays, right? So products, experiences, what can you do in your line of work that you put some thought into doing an experiment, you can really take it to a whole nother level and give people that wow factor. And if you're in a business, what would that look like? How would the experiment be so that you could completely revolutionize your industry, right? Or if you're an artist or a creator, what could you do so that you can completely revolutionize yourself, your brand, your community, right? Your genre. What would that look like? What would that feel like? Let your imagination start, going into overdrive, into wonder, right? Like these sessions, I'm hoping, is that they leave you with 2 or 3 nuggets to just explore, right? 2 or 3 nuggets to explore and to sort of think, wow, what if I just did one of these things? What would happen? Listen, one great idea could change your life. One great idea could change the planet, right? And anyone can have that great idea, but it takes a little bit of processing, right? You cannot sow seeds in a frozen soil, right? Meaning you have to till the soil to get the nutrients up from the bottom to sit on the top. So when you plant the seed in it, it has the best chance of germinating into something amazing, right? That's what we're like. You cannot sit just in one position and just think you're just going to get this idea. There has to be a moment, a time when you just go through the motions. You put your brain and your mind through this process of thinking, of struggling, of, pushing it past where it's comfortable going, so that it just goes bam, pop, crack, wallop, whatever the sound is, right? And it's like the eureka moment, because the soil needs to be tilled up. You need to get your mind to start working in different capacity, and you need to have things that you hold, right, that are totally different from what you normally hold, and then you crash them together, right? You crash them together. You say, did that work? No, let's get something else. Let's crash those together. Did that work? I don't know, right? And you just crashing these ideas together. So this is the metaphor, not physical things, right, guys? But the metaphor is like crashing these things together, right? These ideas. There's no way a monster truck is supposed to work with a pink octopus. I don't care. Let's crash it together. Let's see what happens, right? And so the energy of these things, right? They're going to produce something else. So one of the other weeks, I said, what's 2 and 2, right? The answer is not 4, right? Because you have 2 and then you have another 2, right? So we're taking 2 and another 2, and then we're going to crash those together. So we're going to create something different, right? And that's because 2's got its own energy, and it's got its own energy, and another 2's got its own energy. So now we're going to put all this energy together. What's going to happen, right? So that's a multiplication of energy, right? That's going to have an effect that we just need to observe, and we need to be open to allow that effect to affect us and stimulate our curiosity and our wonder. And then we're like, what's going to happen? I don't know. Let's just dive in and see what happens. And so the answer, yes, Dara, is endless. Because the experimentation process isn't designed to be final, right? Consciousness isn't designed to be final. The human experiment isn't designed to be final. And you look at evolution, is not designed to be final. Evolution is designed to evolve until it keeps going, because it wants to create the best solution, the best environment for itself to survive, right? To thrive. Think about how the universe evolves. It's a cyclical system that just keeps evolving. The planets evolve, cells evolve, thoughts evolve. They go to one level, then another, then another, then another. Right? The system isn't designed to just stop. Oh, we've reached the pinnacle of the universe. It hasn't happened yet. Right? It hasn't happened yet. And apparently when one universe reaches its pinnacle, it explodes, and the explosion creates something else. Right? So this is the cause and effect. And the idea that energy cannot be created or destroyed, it manifests into a new form. Right? So that's what experimentation does to us. It helps us keep creating something we cannot imagine before we started, right? So if we can't imagine something before we start, that's the process of experimentation, to get us into a mode of really thinking, not even thinking, because at that point there, the experimentation isn't about thinking. The experimentation is about doing, right? We're human doing. We're human beings. We're being, but we could be doing as well, right? So we're going to do some work. We're going to do some things. We're going to practice just breaking things down, putting them back together, crashing them together, and seeing what the outcome is, and being an observer. Someone says to you, do you know what this is? I don't know. I'm going to experiment. Right, what are you doing? I don't know. I'm just experimenting. How long are you going to do? I don't know. It's an experiment, right? There's no answer, because the experiment only when it produces a result is the experiment, as that particular experiment over. And the result is, did it produce this result, or did it produce that result? Because I'm trying to choose my words, so I don't want to say, was it good or bad, wrong or right? It produced this experiment, or it produced this. This is the result of the experiment A, and this is the result of the experiment B, right? Now let's go again, right? True A and B testing, because what we're trying to do is evolve and get to the best solution. That surely must be a creator's, ideal way of creating what they're creating. What is the point of doing the same thing you've done over a period of time? Because it makes you feel good. It makes you feel accepted, right? Those are temporary, because you could be the darling one week and then somebody else could do exactly what you did and they'll be the darling the next week over. Those vanity metrics aren't important anymore. We're going to move away from this whole likes and hearts and stuff like that. That stuff's just, we need to move away from that and get back to the heart of the matter, craftsmanship and craftswomanship, right? Where real art is celebrated, real craft is celebrated, where people are doing things with their hands and their heart again. That really makes a difference, right? So, and so think about the companies that are really good at that, right? We don't need to list them all, but we all know who sets the bar at excellence, who creates products that are at the core of experimentation. They fundamentally change the planet continuously because they... Yes, exactly. Social media does kill the creativity. People are... Thank you for that, Lana. That's great. So think about these companies who are continually driving innovation, continually experimenting. Why? Because first of all, human beings have got a low threshold for boredom, right? We get bored right quickly, especially now with the internet and the way that the media is bombarding us with information. It's a high turnover, so we need stimulation, right? And it's well within humans to bring out this level of innovation at the rate it's bringing it out, because there's endless amounts of opportunities out there. And we still haven't even answered some really big questions of what could we be doing with the technology. Can anybody actually tell me what an iPhone is really for? I love them, but can anybody actually tell me what an iPhone or any of these phones, these digital phones that we're using, are actually for? Making calls, texting, the amount of technology that's in there, what could we be doing with it? Is that an experiment? Is there an experiment that could be done that could really test the limits of this technology to see where it can really go, see how it can really, define the culture and take it to another level? It's like, we're open. I'm open to figuring it out, what it can be. So ideas, please, people. Let's go. Communication and tracking. Brilliant, right? So think about where these ideas about experimentation really, really, really work. Think about medicine, right? Think about in medicine how we've had to, as a species, humans, how we've had to experiment, right? For better medicines, for better ways to take care of ourselves. Think about the brain scans and the CAT scans, the machines, the technology that can scan a human body, that can find intricate disease that they couldn't find years ago. Think about think about how they came up with that idea, right? The trial and error, the way that they had to, really think and try this one and try that one, right? Think about it. It's like, it is fascinating what some people do to better the race, right? And so this is what I'm talking about, this level of experimentation, this level of research and development, this level of persevering through the psychological feelings of defeat when things don't go right? When things don't go the way you want them to go. Like how, like again, two types of people. One person thrives on that. Oh, it's not working, I'm going to make it work, and I'm going to just keep going. The other person, it's not for me, this isn't going to work, right? But we know, with perseverance, with trial and error, right? With a mindset that's built for success, built for growth, built for progress, amazing things can happen. So let's scale it right back to us again. Let's make it relevant to actually us again. What could we do, right, to apply an experimentation to ourselves that we can create something that would be next level for us, right? That if you achieved this and got through this experiment, what would that feel like, right? What would that evolutionary leap and jump feel like for you? Listen, as I'm saying it, I'm getting excited, right? So what would that experiment be for you, right? What would you need to have to help that happen? What are the tools that you would need to create that, right? So think about that. Think about just doing a simple experiment, a thought experiment. So Einstein created the theory of relativity, right, with a thought experiment. He couldn't prove it, right? He had a thought about himself sat on the front of a star, a shooting star, or a light beam, sorry, going around the universe. So that was his hypothesis, and how he came up with the theory of relativity, the E equals mc squared. That was Einstein's idea, his theory, right? It was a thought experiment. So we can do thought experiments. Do a thought experiment. What would it be like to live this dream life that you're going for, have a dream career, finish a project, create a product that changes the game, take your career to the next level, you know, write a great song, create some great designs, whatever it is that you are invested in that's going to take you to that next, like, what would that feel like, right? What would be the ideal conditions for that to happen? And what would it be like to leave where you are now and to have some crazy ideas about how possible it could happen, and then experience what it would be like to live in that thing in the future? Like, that could be a thought experiment. A meditation, a visualization, a drawing. Lots of my ideas come from drawing. I'm a great doodler. I love to just draw thoughts out. I sketch them out. I give them names. I give them situations. You know, I write loads of interesting drawings and diagrams. Use different color pens. I use mind maps. I use stickers. I'm trying to jog my mind out of its normal way of thinking, right? Because I'll get into a rut, I'll get into a comfortable way of thinking, and I'll delude myself thinking I'm making progress, and really I'm just getting comfortable. And I feel like I'm smart. Well, I'm not. I'm just like thinking that this is cool where I am, but is it where you want to be? No, but it's cool. I feel comfortable. It's where I'm slightly different. Yeah, but there's more. Keep going. And so the process I know now is just to keep going, it's to keep pushing. And once you meet that dead end, you go down that road. And when you reach that dead end, you go down that road, and you go up. Sometimes you go down. Sometimes you take left, right. It doesn't matter, as long as you keep going. There isn't an answer, and there isn't a necessary end, because improvements. Look how let's just take the iPhone. So sorry if I'm, dissed anybody about the iPhone earlier. I do love the iPhone. Just trying to figure out what it's actually for. But look how the original iPod, what it was like, and look where the iPhone is now. And look where they've come to the point now where Apple have created their new M1 chip. So from a company that just made computers to a company now that's revolutionized the chip. So if you know anything about the M1 chip, it's the fastest chip, and it's like outperformed the chips before it by like 20 or 30 to 1, right? Think about that. This is Apple. They're not a microchip company, right? But they've reinvented a chip that is outperforming actual companies that do that for a living. Like, that's experimentation, innovation at its highest level. So Tesla in trying to work with manufacturers to improve the battery, so we get new. Yes, Scotty, it's ridiculously huge, and that's just the beginning, right? So Listen, guys, there are some breakthroughs. I'm just going to quickly give you 3 massive breakthroughs coming down the line. AI, GP3, the deep fakes, and Adobe Speech. Just 3. Check those out. And actually 4. Boston Dynamics, robotics. Check those 4 things out and email me, touch base with me, and let me know what you think. Those 4 are going to revolutionize the planet like we have never seen. And if we thought the invention of the internet and how that revolutionized the planet, it completely was bonkers. Remember, before the internet, most of my audience was probably alive before the internet, and what that did, right? And then let's fast forward to Internet 2.0 with all the businesses and the apps that's come through. Facebook came through on that phase. Instagram later on. YouTube. Think how YouTube revolutionized the world. And then think about how mobile phones revolutionized the world, right? That's going to pale in comparison to what those 4 new technologies I just told you are going to do. We are heading for a crazy, crazy, crazy future. And it's not even that far away. It's 10 years away, 5 years away. Depending what circles you're in, it's probably happening right now. So this is what I'm talking about. Are we actually getting in what these phones are actually doing when this other technology is miles and leaps and bounds ahead than what we were even aware of? Human 2.0 is on its way. It's already here, bro. It's already here. It is already here. We're moving at light speed. So let's go back to the whole idea about experimentation. Let's look at some other people who value the experimentation process and who live by it. Artists. Think about painters like we spoke about earlier. Let's look at sculptures. People who sculpt, right? People who make pottery, right? People who are, like we said, painters, sculptors, artists and creators who have a blank canvas and they're continually making adjustments as they go along to create this thing that it doesn't exist yet. This thing doesn't exist yet, you know, and they are constantly reevaluating, constantly thinking outside of the box. They're constantly, you know, pushing themselves to develop new ideas, new techniques, new ways to create something. They don't, you know, if you're one of those people out there, you don't know exactly what it is that you're trying to achieve. You just know you're trying to create something different and new and entertaining for yourself, first and foremost, right? You're the one who wants to be stimulated. You're the one who wants to wake up every morning and rush to this place of work because you've got some great ideas, right? Because it's exciting, right? You've got that childlike wonder, that childlike energy that you want the rest of the world to see. You know, remember the first time you saw Star Wars, right? Remember the first time you saw Toy Story? Remember the first time you saw Terminator 2, the liquid Terminator? Like Matrix, right? Like mind-blowing moments in cinema, but also technology, right? And so when you think about that, think about all the hours, the man hours that went on before that. All the experimentation, all the trial and error, things they had to do so that we would have that experience for that hour, 2 hours on the screen, in the cinema. And your mind would be completely blown away, right? That's what we're talking about. Innovating, creativity, experimentation, not, you know, this whole willingness to experiment, to break the rules, to break boundaries, to not be confined by the ideas that's come before us. That's what the saying, standing on giants, is about, right? We're standing on the shoulders of people that have come before us. We're saying, wow, you guys got really far with that limited technology. How could they send a man to the moon with the technology that they had back then? And look at what we've got now. We haven't gone further. We've got so much technology now, we haven't gone further. We just retired our fastest plane, right? Concorde. There's the fastest commercial plane. We haven't got another one to replace it. Why is that? But yet we've got technology much better. Why is that? Right? Isn't that people are experimenting? Aren't people being open enough? Are people afraid to fail? Is the cost of it too much? I don't know. I don't know what's going on in aviation. Maybe that might be my next place to look into and get some insights in, and to, you know, experiment with those ideas with something else to create something new. So just as a side note, when I was doing my new album, Edge of Everything, I studied lots and lots and lots and lots of different things to come up with these ideas to make the album sound the way it did. I hardly listened to any music. Hardly any music. I was watching documentaries on music, and I was watching, I've heard of SpaceX, I was watching documentaries about musicians and the way that they think. I was watching programs on engineering, bridge building, monster trucks, quantum physics, watching lots of documentaries about space, travel, teleportation, probably, watching lots of sci-fi stuff, like old programs like Doctor Who. I was just trying to switch off my mind around what I normally do. Right? I was looking into other. There's a question, sorry, about Lost Horizons. What's the festival called? Lost Horizons. How do I get in? There should be a link for tickets. I will put the flyer up on my page again for you guys. And so the whole idea for me, and in that creative process, was to really think differently. And whatever you put in your mind, you get the equal opposite reaction out of your mind. So if I'm just consuming, my culture is in jungle music, I'm gonna just keep putting out jungle music. What I wanted to do, I wanted to experience movies, I wanted to experience technology, I wanted to experience people at the top of their game. What are these professionals doing at the top of their game? How can I experience some of that? What can I learn from that? And then I internalized it, meditated. You guys know about my practices, a lot of meditation, a lot of solitude. And then this stuff comes out, and because my music is my chosen tool to express myself. Yours might be fashion, it could be painting, it could be pottery, it could be sculpting, it could be design. Whatever your creative output is will be affected by the input you put in. And so I learned this from IDEO, so a book called The 10 Faces of Innovation. And in it, he explains the different ways that they go about solving a problem. So IDEO is a think tank, a creative design studio that solves big problems, small problems even. Problems for big companies, medical companies. They revolutionized the toothbrush. So if you have a toothbrush that feels ergonomic, I think the word is, it's because of them. And if you think about door handles, how door handles now feel, comfortable in your hand, the iPhone or any phone, how it feels comfortable in your hand, it's because these design firms now, they have this process where they're designing things that feel good in your hand based on how we use them. And so I read the book, The 10 Faces of Innovation, and in it, they break down these 10 steps of what it takes to create a breakthrough. And so that was my idea of how I approach everything from now on. I really go into something with that beginner's mindset, the creator's mindset, the experimenter mindset. And I'm not trying to just put out what's already in the world. I'm trying to put out something that the world hasn't seen, heard, felt, touched, or breathed before. Because for me, that's what's exciting. For me, I'm excited by when I do what I do and people hear it for the first time and I can see their expressions. They're like, what the fuck is this? Like, that's exciting to me. It's exciting to me when I'm playing this stuff or doing an exhibition or working with people to help develop their ideas. And so that's my sort of process in it. That's how I'm doing my creativity, my experimentation. So let's think about history. When you think about history, what does the history tell us about experimentation, right? And it's very, very simple. If you do not adapt, you die, right? Think about that. Think about all what's come before us. And when you don't adapt, you die. And when we say adapt, there has to be this process, right, of creating and uncreating, finding solutions, finding better solutions, breaking things, structurally dismantling them. And this is all psychological, right? Because when someone says, or a business says they're stuck or they're blocked or they're not progressing, a business in and itself doesn't do anything, right? A business, some businesses aren't even physical buildings, right? But a physical building that has a business inside of it, right? Think about this. What's a business? When someone says my business isn't working, what are they actually saying? Because the business in itself doesn't do anything without the person putting some energy into it. So what are they actually saying? They are not being able to think and behave in a different way to get that business to work, right? Because the business doesn't do anything by itself. Not yet anyway. We have some AI businesses coming. But that's an AI, it's a computer, and it's going to be thinking, it's going to be making alterations. But think about that. So when someone says they're stuck, or they're blocked, or they can't get to that next level, what are they actually saying? So think about how we have to evolve to that next level. Think about the process of going to this next level. We are in the process now of evolving. Some of us don't want to, right? Some of us are trying to hold the rest of us back. Some of us have only ever had one good idea and they just keep trying to repeat that one idea. Some of us have got loads of new ideas, but society's not ready to hear that. Society's not ready to welcome these radical new ideas because they're just trying to hold on to what they know. So think about this process we're in right now. This is a huge shift. This is a big deal, what we're going through right now. And with this people trying to hold back the inevitable change that's going to happen and development that's happening in human consciousness right now, there's nothing you can do, right? You either go with it or you become a victim of it. That's the process of the universe. The universe wants to create a better version of itself. That's why it creates. That's why it keeps creating. Think about it. When a species dies, why does a species die? Because it can't evolve into the environment, into the new environment. So it has to go, right? Study anthropology. They will break down, and social sciences, it breaks down how certain things have to adapt to the new environment. What are we in right now? This is a new environment that we are in. Look at the constant stress that's being bombarded to us from the media, through social media, from governments and from people who are no more qualified. I've said it and I'll say it again. Those people in those jobs, they're no more qualified than you or I to run human affairs. And that's different from pushing papers and making suggestions, but a human affairs are way different. So think about that, right? When we start drilling down to it, I know it's probably diving into a slightly different area, but this is when the rubber meets the road, there isn't much else going on at that deeper level than consciousness going to that next level, then the universe refining itself and going to the next level. What is a great idea? A great idea will be this culmination and the sum of what has come before it, but then goes to another level. Think about I'll keep coming back to the iPhone, but it's a great tool to give these examples. Think about the Nokia before the iPhone. That phone handset they used it in Matrix. Remember the flip in Matrix? And it was the height of technology. We were all blown away by it. The orange green screen, the green pads, the buttons, the way you flip the button and the thing came out. And every phone was a variation of that. The flip, all our buttons and a screen of sorts. And everybody was like, oh my God, this is amazing technology. And then all of a sudden, Apple comes out with the iPhone as one button and a huge screen completely revolutionized. It didn't just incrementally change the game. They didn't just knock on the door and say, excuse me, we've got something I think you'll like. They completely shattered everything that ever existed before that. They came in and completely demolished anybody. They did it for years, right? Nobody could get close to Apple with anything as innovative as Apple did. So they just copied it. Remember what I said at the beginning of the show? This isn't about coming in and doing the same what someone else has done and slightly changing it. No one remembers who came out after iPhone, all right? It's not important. We celebrate the iPhone because it was a true innovation. And we celebrate people, companies, brands, ideas that are true innovations. When we see the leaders who went through, this is why we like them, right? Because the Mavericks and the Rebels, they have done the work, right? If they're true innovators, they have done the work. They've been in the trenches for months, years sometimes, right? And eating jacket potatoes and beans, right, for years, right? Sleeping on floors underneath desks, struggling, trying to understand how to do it. And finally, before then they were called madmen, mad women, nutters, people who needed to wake up. And all of a sudden, they created this massive breakthrough and they did wake up, right? And now who has to switch because you didn't see the vision? You didn't understand what was going on. And now they've brought something to the world that's completely changed the way we interact with technology and ourselves in a fundamentally new way. That is the breakthrough mindset. That is the type of innovation, the type of experimentation that breaks the game, breaks the universe, breaks and exceeds expectations. And it does one other thing as well. It captures our imagination, right? It captures our imagination. We are excited by that idea. We are so like, this is nuts. And so that is what we're talking about. That is why we do love it, we like it, and we get excited by it, because that takes the game, that takes society, that takes consciousness. So let's look at this whole Apple thing again. Again, I'm going to say it because it's a great way of understanding what they did. So Apple creates a phone. They create apps, right? The apps people are able now to create apps for the platform. Look how many jobs they've now created, or other opportunities for people to create apps. Tech people now have created, lots of people have now created apps who are just maybe tinkerers. Now they've got thriving businesses. And think about the people that use the apps for their businesses and how they've changed their business, the way they've worked. So isn't the phone, so here, I'm answering my question. So the phone hasn't just given Apple, this whole leap forward. The phone now helps people create economies within the ecosystem and helps people create solutions with the apps for their businesses. That's what the iPhone's for. I just scratched my own itch, as it were. And so it's fascinating what can happen when you take this whole idea of experimentation to that next level, because you don't know, right, what the result, the real outward result of the experimentation is going to be. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be amazing. It's going to change not just your life, but the people's lives around you, and people's lives who you might not even come to meet in your lifetime. Like, that is the legacy of what it is that we're doing here. So history tells us you adapt or die, right? And so you adapt by having to think different thoughts. You adapt by having to break your old patterns, break your own habits, finding new solutions, finding a way through, right? Finding a way through. That takes a moment, a process of undoing the old thinking and being able to think in new ways and coming up with new different solutions that you might not be thinking about. That's why it's important to experiment. That's why it's important to have an open mind. And this is why I'm excited about potentially doing these events next year in person, because we'll be able to do a lot of these talks that we've just been talking about. We'll be actually able to do them on a day seminar. So that is why I'm buzzing and feeling really, really excited. 25 repetitions of anything forms a habit. Kiyazan, is that right? Kiyazan? 25 repetitions of anything forms a habit. Very powerful. So, to finish off today, think about where your ideas come from and how can you experiment and get that to grow to that next level, right? So, before we finish as well, we're just wrapping up. But people, if you want to do a workshop around this experimentation, hit me up on here or email me at disruptivek@gmail.com and we'll figure out to do a workshop around it. We could do an online, first of all, maybe January, February. And then obviously when things calm down a bit, we're going to do some more in-person events. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But if you don't want to wait and you want to do a Zoom masterclass, email me at disruptivek@gmail.com and we'll definitely get one of those going. disruptivek@gmail.com. So you can email me there. You can also email me about Wednesday's workout. This is our private members group where we go into a lot more detail about the creative mindset, and we are coaching you for longer periods of time in smaller groups. And we have our private Facebook group. We have our members platform as well, where all of our recordings are on, so you can dip into any of the information from. We've got a year's worth of content up on there now as well. So the community is thriving and growing. So if you want to join Wednesday's workout and take your project to the next level, and you've been enjoying this Adapter Canvas, the next logical step is Wednesday's workout. So email me to find out more and to see if you're a good match for the team over there. So yeah, so the other extra benefit from the experimentation, which is amazing, is the unexpected and unpredictable nature of them. So when you think about that, right, what is like the sort of icing on the cake when you do something that produces an unexpected results? And I definitely have benefited from that, from being, a recording artist over the years, tinkering away, pushing buttons for hours on end, and all of a sudden this magic happens, and you're like, wow, I never expected that to happen. I never expected that sound to come out the way it did. I never expected that thing to do what it did. And that in itself is worth, is weight in gold. The way that me and Suv and Dai started creating the jungle music that we created at that time was through an accident. So we were in the studio together making tunes, and we left the studio for lunch or something. We came back and we turned on the computer, and it played without one of the main, like, we used to have a kick drum back in the day when we used to make our music. It had 4 to the floor in it, and we had breaks around it. And so that day, something happened, I don't know, but the kick drum was muted. And when we turned it back on, it was just these breaks and this bass line, and we were like, what is this? And it was completely, blew our minds. And we're like, what the fuck? And I put the kick in, now take it out, put it in, take it out, leave it out, and boom. That's how we got to where we got to in making jungle for us. So through an experiment, through an accident, even in the beginning, jungle was an experiment. It was an experiment of speeding up hip-hop breaks. It was an experiment of using techno bass sounds. It was an experiment of using reggae sub-basses. It was an experiment of using hip-hop vocals, reggae vocals, you know, and copying techniques from, you know, mixing techniques from, you know, pop, electronica, trying to understand how to make the music sound better. And so the whole thing was an experiment. Nobody knew what they were doing. If you would have asked any of us back then, what are you doing? The answer would have been, I don't know. Because we didn't know. We didn't know it was going to be called jungle. We didn't know that it was going to become the music it is today. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would be DJing, you know, at Glastonbury, or even playing in a band called Represent in front of 20, 30,000 people at Glastonbury. Like, those things never occurred to me. But this journey is amazing, and it feels like I'm only just really getting going. And that's all because of an experiment in music. And even before that, I can tell you that I experimented with, when I watched the film Wildstar. I stood in the garden, my mum's garden, with 6 other guys, and said, right, we're going to create this crew called Fresh 4. Right, I'm 14 years old, right? I'm saying we're going to create this crew called Fresh 4. We're going to do what we saw on the TV. Who's in? And a couple of people said yeah, a couple of people said no. Remember what I said? People either go forward, they see the vision, or they retreat. They don't see the vision. And 4 of us saw the vision. And we were the ones who created Fresh 4. And on from that, 2 or 3 of us went on to create Jungle. Right? And so there's no guarantees any of this stuff's going to work. It's just ideas. People, you know, it's just people with ideas, right? And you just create, you just do it. You just sit around and you just imagine what it could be, and then you start tinkering. There's no, like, even now, the stuff that I'm doing, experimenting with the new music I'm making, some new business ideas. They're just ideas on a piece of paper. I don't know whether they're going to work or not, but I'm going to sit and tinker away, push buttons, and see what happens. And so that is the whole psychological journey of the experimenter, who's not afraid of failing, who uses failure as a springboard to success. Because out of adversity, out of the challenge, comes growth and learning. And with growth and learning comes knowledge and wisdom that can help you, not just you, but the community after you grow and prosper. So, thank you, everybody. Today's show was fire. I'm ready to go another hour right now, but I'm so fired up, I want to dive into the studio and start pushing buttons this afternoon. So, I want to thank you all for some fireworks today. This session has been amazing. I can't wait for next year when we can do this in person, to meet some of you guys, and we could have an amazing afternoon of doing some adapting the canvas, doing some creative, stimulating work, and taking this to that next level. You know what I'm saying? This is going to be really, really exciting. So, please, people, share with this, with everybody. Let's see how many people we can reach in the next 7 days. Let's double the figures, double the numbers. Let's see where we can take it. And remember, if you want to be a part of the Wednesday's workout and you want to take this to the next level, email me at gmail at disruptive patterns. Is that right? No, disruptivek@gmail.com. The email is on there. Check it out. And thank you, everybody who turned up for the masterclass a couple of weeks ago. That was amazing. We're going to do another one in January. So look what we're doing. We are setting ourselves up for success. So from every month, from now on, I'm going to be doing one big masterclass. Hopefully we'll be able to do in you know, the real world. But the next one is going to be in January. We're going to do another masterclass. We're going to dive deep into the creator's mindset. Maybe we'll call that the experimenter's mind. I don't know. If you've got any ideas, let me know. I'm open to it. But we're ready to grow. I'm ready to take this thing to the next level. And I would love to bring you guys with me for this next part of the journey. So, thank you for listening in for another edition of Adapt the Canvas. This episode was fire! I really enjoyed it. So thank you. And I will see you all next week for some more fire in the booth with me, Kay, Adapt the Canvas. Have a great, fantastic week. Keep the fire burning. Namaste. Blessings.